Puddle Lane, a present for Aunt Matilda. A present for Aunt Matilda. It was winter in Puddle Lane. Everything was covered in snow. The wide-awake mice, who lived under the hollow tree in the magician's garden, were very hungry. The birds had eaten all the berries, and the seeds in the garden were under the snow. The magician's garden. It's market day today, said Chestnut. I'll go to the market and get some food. We'll go with you, said Jeremy and Miranda. So will I, said Aunt Jane. You'll have to run on all 4 feet, said Chestnut, or you'll sink in the snow. You can't do that in a skirt. Then I shall leave my skirt behind, said Aunt Jane. Chestnut said, It is market day. I'm going too, said Grandfather Mouse. If I can run very well on 4 feet, I can run very well on 4 feet if I take off my coat. What about us? Asked Uncle Maximus. We'll bring some food back for you, said Grandfather Mouse. The 5 little mice went out. They set off across the snow. The mice went out. They were halfway down Puddle Lane when they saw Miss Baker. She was carrying a parcel. Hide! Squeaked Chestnut. The mice all hid in the snow beside the stone steps leading to Miss Baker's front door. The mice hid. Miss Baker stopped at the door of Miss Match's house. Miss Match and Miss Matilda Match were very old ladies. They were Miss Baker's aunts. Miss Matilda Match loved cheese. Miss Baker had been to the market and bought her a big, round Dutch cheese. Miss Baker stopped at the door of Miss Match's house. Miss Baker knocked on Miss Match's door. There was no answer. They must be out, she said. She put the cheese down on the top step. She took out a piece of paper and wrote Aunt Matilda on it. She tucked the paper under the string on top of the parcel. Then she went on up the lane and into her own house. Aunt Matilda. Miss Baker put the cheese down on the step. As soon as Miss Baker was safely indoors, the wide-awake mice came out. They ran on down the lane. But as they passed Miss Match's door, they smelt the smell of cheese. Chestnut ran up the steps, and the others all followed him. Chestnut ran up the steps. Aunt Matilda. There's cheese in this parcel, said Chestnut. Let's make a hole in it and see. Wait a minute, said Grandfather Mouse. Chestnut had knocked Miss Baker's paper off the top of the parcel. Grandfather Mouse looked at it. This says Aunt Matilda, he said in a very surprised tone. It must be a present for Aunt Matilda. I wonder why it was left here. Aunt Matilda. Grandfather Mouse said, Aunt Matilda. Let's take it home to Aunt Matilda, said Aunt Jane. We can all eat it. Come back here, said Grandfather Mouse, climbing up the steps and going behind the cheese. Now push, push hard. The cheese rolled down the steps into the snow. Grandfather Mouse said, push. They all pushed. The mice ran down after it and began to push the cheese. The cheese rolled slowly up Puddle Lane. It was very heavy, and by the time they got to Mr. Puffle's house, they were tired out. The mice pushed the cheese. It's no good, said Aunt Jane. We'll never get it home like this. It's too heavy. Let's make a hole in the paper and eat some of the cheese. We shall feel much stronger when we've had something to eat. We must eat some cheese, said Aunt Jane. Chestnut and Jeremy tore a hole in the paper and the mice began to eat. They were very hungry, and it wasn't long before they had eaten a big hole into the middle of the cheese. The mice ate the cheese. The mice were so busy eating that they didn't hear Sarah and Gita coming along the lane in the snow. What's that? Said Sarah as she saw the cheese. She picked it up. Sarah saw the cheese. The little mice squeaked with fright. Sarah dropped the cheese. The mice fell out and ran off up Puddle Lane as fast as they could run. The mice ran up Puddle Lane. Sarah picked the cheese up again. Someone must have bought this in the market, she said, but it's no good now. The mice must be very hungry in all this snow, said Gita. Let's leave it for them. Let's take it to the hollow tree in the magician's garden, said Sarah. That's where the mice live. I've seen them there. Let's take the cheese to the tree, said Sarah. Grandfather Mouse, Aunt Jane, Chestnut, Jeremy, and Miranda ran back into the hole under the hollow tree, tumbling over each other as they ran. Whatever's the matter? Asked Grandmother Mouse. And as soon as he had recovered a little, Grandfather Mouse told her what had happened. The mice ran back into the hole under the tree. You've all had some cheese, but I'm so hungry, said Uncle Maximus. I don't think I shall live very much longer if I don't have something to eat. We'll go out again, said Grandfather Mouse. We'll find something for you. We will go out again, said Grandfather Mouse. Chestnut lifted his nose. His whiskers twitched. Cheese, cried Chestnut. I can smell cheese. He ran back up the hole to the hollow tree. There by the hollow tree was a big, round, red Dutch cheese. Cheese! Cried Chestnut again. The cheese is here! All the other mice came running up into the hollow tree. Cheese! Cried Chestnut. When the moon shone down into the hollow tree that night, there was no sign of the big Dutch cheese. All that was left of it was piled up in little bits in the big hole under the tree. The wide-awake mice were all feeling very full and very comfortable. It was a wonderful present, said Aunt Matilda sleepily. I wonder who sent it to me. Nobody answered. The wide-awake mice were all asleep. The wide-awake mice in the big hole under the tree.